Almost immediately after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, before the public mourning had even fully concluded, a silent, decisive maneuver took place behind the heavy, gilded doors of Windsor. The locks to the most closely guarded room in the British monarchy, the Royal Jewellery Vault, were abruptly changed. Angela Kelly, the late Queen's fiercely loyal confidant, the gatekeeper of the Crown's priceless gems, and a steadfast, known ally to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was swiftly asked to vacate her residence. In the blink of an eye, the ultimate keys of royal power changed hands, transferring absolute control of the historic, glittering collection to Queen Consort Camilla. This was not merely an administrative housekeeping update. It was the sharp, unmistakable commencement of a quiet but profound internal power struggle, instantly cutting Catherine off from the very arsenal she had utilized for over a decade to construct her flawless global image. For years, we have watched Catherine master the delicate language of incremental luxury. She patiently built her royal presence, introducing petite diamond earrings before completing a grand set, using specific stones to communicate diplomacy, respect, and an ever-growing influence. The shared royal vault was her unspoken voice, a shimmering bridge connecting the legacy of the late Queen to the modern appeal of the Wales family. This mastery was not achieved overnight. It was the result of a meticulously cultivated discipline, known among fashion historians as incremental luxury. Consider her early reliance on the Mappin & Webb Empress diamond set. There was no overwhelming, ostentatious debut. Instead, Catherine introduced the delicate, clustered diamond earrings at Princess Charlotte's christening in 2015, a deeply intimate family occasion. Only later, at grander events like the Order of the Garter, did she reveal the matching necklace, allowing the public to grow accustomed to the pieces until they felt like an intrinsic part of her identity. Furthermore, she wielded pieces like the Cartier Trinity, set as exquisite tools of diplomacy. During her 2017 tour of Paris, the interlocking bands of white, yellow, and rose gold symbolizing love, loyalty, and friendship spoke volumes of her cultural fluency. It was a precise, calculated blend of British restraint and European grace, proving she completely understood the global assignment. But with the changing of the locks, the landscape of the monarchy shifted fundamentally. The Princess of Wales suddenly found herself navigating a highly restricted reality. The traditional tools she used to shine on the international stage were no longer freely at her disposal. Instead of a shared heritage, the royal gems became a closely monitored boundary, firmly drawn by the new reign to establish an absolute hierarchy. Why would a princess, universally adored and securely positioned as the future of the monarchy, find herself at the center of a silent battle over vault access? Because in the upper echelons of the palace, jewelry is never simply decorative. It is the ultimate currency of dominance and favor. The immediate restriction of the royal collection was widely perceived by palace insiders and close royal observers as a highly calibrated move. The new era required a clear visual distinction of rank. There was a persistent, underlying necessity to ensure that the natural, radiant spotlight, effortlessly commanded by the Princess of Wales, would not inadvertently eclipse the central figures of the newly established reign. Faced with these stringent new dynamics, Catherine did not push back against the institution, nor did she allow herself to fade into the background of a newly streamlined monarchy. Instead, she initiated a brilliant, unspoken counter-offensive. When the doors to the public vault were secured, Catherine turned entirely to her own private heritage, launching what fashion historians and royal commentators have aptly dubbed her Queen Mode. She shifted her strategy from gentle, diplomatic communication to a formidable display of independent authority. Confronted with a reality where the grandest historical pieces are rightfully reserved for the current Queen Consort, Camilla, who has seamlessly stepped into her role and gracefully assumed the magnificent jewels that accompany the throne, Catherine faced a fascinating dilemma. How does one project the undeniable, magnetic aura of a future sovereign when the most explicit tools to do so are locked away? The answer lay in a masterful pivot toward private luxury and deeply symbolic inheritances. This strategic pivot brought her carefully guarded personal collection to the forefront. For years, Catherine had maintained a strict boundary between public duty and personal life, best exemplified by the Asprey London Daisy Heritage set. While the floral earrings made occasional appearances at daytime engagements, the matching necklace was almost exclusively reserved for private anniversary portraits. She deliberately refrained from wearing the entire ensemble in front of the global press, cultivating an air of mystery in an era where royal life is endlessly photographed and consumed. Now, in the face of restricted vault access, this very concept of private luxury became her greatest asset. She stopped relying on the borrowed grandeur of the crown and began establishing an untouchable presence built entirely on her own terms. By elevating her personal collection, heavily featuring the emotionally resonant sapphires inherited directly from Diana, and commissioning bespoke, architectural masterpieces that completely bypassed newly imposed, restrictive dress codes, Catherine rewrote the rules of royal engagement. She transformed an apparent loss of privilege into an unparalleled display of strategic brilliance. This is the untold story of what happens when the keys to the kingdom are taken away, revealing how Catherine used the very rigidity of the new royal protocols to forge an undeniable, sovereign legacy that no lock could ever contain. The most glaring manifestation of this shifted power dynamic unfolded on the global stage during the historic coronation in May 2023. An unprecedented directive was quietly issued from the palace, establishing a slimmed-down aesthetic for the grand occasion. To project a modern monarchy in touch with economic realities, a strict edict was handed down. Royal ladies were prohibited from wearing traditional tiaras. Officially, this unprecedented directive was widely respected as a reflection of King Charles's vision for a slimmed-down monarchy sensitive to the global economic climate. However, regardless of the official rationale, the visual execution of this decree painted a starkly different picture of hierarchy. While the prohibition applied with absolute rigidity to those beneath the throne, Queen Consort Camilla rightfully and lawfully ascended the steps of Westminster Abbey, wearing Queen Mary's spectacular crown. But the true weight of the moment was not just in the crown itself, it was in the deliberate addition of the Cullinan 3, IV, and V diamonds. These are some of the largest, most valuable, and historically significant gems on Earth, famously favoured by the late Queen Elizabeth as personal brooches. The visual disparity broadcast to the world was staggering, an enforced modesty for the Princess of Wales, juxtaposed against a display of ultimate, unchallenged supremacy for the new Queen Consort. According to gathered news and the persistent whispers circulating among royal insiders, this no-tiara mandate resulted in a highly sophisticated maneuver of image control. Catherine possesses a natural, radiant charisma and an unparalleled global appeal. A tiara-clad Princess of Wales at the peak of her influence carried the sheer media gravity to unintentionally draw every camera lens and front-page headline away from the central figures of the day. By enforcing a dress code that effectively stripped away the traditional, diamond-encrusted halo from the future queen, the institution seemingly attempted to guarantee that the spotlight remained firmly and exclusively fixed on the newly crowned monarchs. This created a profound contradiction for Catherine. She had always been a master of the institution's visual language. From the diplomatic brilliance of wearing the Cartier Trinity set in Paris, to the calculated, ethereal glamour of her Van Cleef & Arpels Alhambra appearances, she knew exactly how to deploy the royal collection to her advantage. Even when she transitioned to more senior royal duties, her aesthetic remained fiercely disciplined. The Van Cleef & Arpels Magic Alhambra set serves as a prime example of her signature, managed opulence. Featuring the brand's iconic clover motifs in shimmering mother-of-pearl, the pieces provided a deliberate softness against her increasingly structured royal wardrobe. Whether gliding down the BAFTA red carpet in a flowing white and gold Alexander McQueen gown, or attending the Coronation concert, Catherine rarely wore the necklace and earrings together. She gave each piece room to breathe, showcasing an innate understanding that true luxury does not require displaying every jewel at once. Yet, suddenly, she was cornered. Stripped of the direct support from the vault's former gatekeeper and facing a strict prohibition on traditional crowning jewels for the most significant royal event of the century, the risk of fading into the visual background was immense. She was confronted with the very real danger of being overshadowed by the monumental, historic gemstones now commanded by the Queen Consort. Instead of voicing a single word of complaint or exhibiting any trace of defiance, Catherine executed an act of sartorial genius that perfectly encapsulated her managed opulence philosophy. She complied entirely with the rule against wearing royal diamonds. However, she bypassed the restriction altogether by commissioning a breathtaking, three-dimensional floral headpiece from Alexander McQueen and milliner Jess Collett. Crafted from solid silver bullion, crystal, and silver thread, this bespoke masterpiece reportedly cost an estimated £30,000. It was a spectacular maneuver of compliance. By adhering to the letter of the law while completely subverting its intended effect, she sent an undeniable message. If she could not borrow a crown, she would simply create her own. The silver floral headpiece caught the light with every turn of her head, creating an ethereal, regal aura that captivated the global press. On the day designed to cement the new reign, the most viral and fiercely debated image was not the towering Cullinan diamonds, but the piercing, composed gaze of the Princess of Wales beneath a crown of silver leaves. This moment of brilliant defiance acted as the catalyst for a broader, more permanent shift in her approach to royal dressing. Denied free reign over the communal vault, Catherine fully activated her queen mode, pivoting sharply toward a private, heavily curated arsenal of colored gemstones. The sapphire and diamond suite inherited from Diana became her armor of choice. She began appearing frequently in entirely monochromatic blue ensembles, pairing the sharp, structural tailoring of her coat dresses with the deep, resonant blue of the sapphires. Blue, in the psychology of color, dictates trust, stability, and calm authority. By consistently wearing these specific stones, which carry the immortal, untouchable legacy of the late Diana, Catherine quietly but firmly drew a boundary. She signaled that while the current keys to the material vault might belong to someone else, she held the key to the public's enduring loyalty and the monarchy's future. Even when she does access the royal collection under these newly restricted protocols, her choices are surgical in their precision. Take, for instance, the Art Deco emerald choker she wore during the Earthshot Prize in the United States. While technically property of the crown, the piece is globally recognized as the ultimate signature of the late Princess Diana. By selecting this specific, emotionally charged heirloom, rather than competing for the traditional white diamonds currently favored by the throne, it was a high-stakes, international declaration of sovereign energy. It proved that her ability to command a room did not rely on the grace of the current gatekeepers, but on her own undeniable presence. This formidable approach extended far beyond her signature sapphires. When the stakes were highest and the lighting demanded absolute brilliance, Catherine unveiled her magnificent emerald suite. While the reigning monarchs rightfully commanded the institution's heaviest traditional white diamonds, the Princess of Wales carved out her own visual empire, using bold, historic-colored gemstones. The emeralds, in particular, signaled a daring departure from the gentle princess aesthetic. When she wore the emerald suite to events like the BAFTAs, the transformation was absolute. It was a visual confirmation of what fashion insiders refer to as full queen mode. These stones were not selected to blend into the background. They were deployed to assert dominance, demonstrating an energy and a sovereign vitality that simply cannot be locked away. In the intricately choreographed theatre of the Abbey, Catherine was not the only royal woman utilizing her attire as an instrument of silent assertion. Princess Royal Anne, the very embodiment of stoic duty and unwavering loyalty to the crown, executed a maneuver of her own that spoke volumes to those fluent in palace subtleties. Positioned strategically within the congregation, Anne wore her military uniform paired with a bicorn hat adorned with a towering, vibrant red feather. Whether by meticulous design or extraordinary coincidence, that specific feather perfectly and continuously obscured the face of the Duke of Sussex, who had recently fractured the family's carefully maintained stoicism from the primary television camera angles broadcast to millions worldwide. To keen royal analysts, this was no mere accident of seating. It was a demonstration of how true, blood-born royals deploy their garments as stealth weaponry to protect the structural integrity of the firm. Anne, a figure who famously values absolute discipline and a mistake-free approach to duty, has long been observed as a quiet but formidable supporter of Catherine's impeccable professionalism. The red feather acted as a subtle, unyielding shield, preserving the dignity of the event, just as Catherine's silver crown protected her own sovereign dignity. While Queen Consort Camilla flawlessly fulfilled her role at the altar, bearing the immense weight of the crown jewels with appropriate solemnity and grace, the underlying equilibrium of the family was being fiercely maintained by these silent, sartorial acts of allegiance from the monarchy's most steadfast women. This intricate dance of gemstones and protocol has fundamentally reshaped the landscape of royal soft power. While the physical keys to the material wealth of the vaults rightfully reside with the Queen Consort, Catherine has undeniably secured the keys to the global public's heart and imagination. The events unfolding from the coronation through the challenging months leading up to 2026 have only solidified this reality. Following her highly publicized medical leave and subsequent, triumphant return to public duties, Catherine's reliance on private luxury has transcended mere fashion. It has become a masterclass in crisis management and brand fortification. She did not return to the world stage draped in the intimidating weight of the state's largest diamonds. Instead, she anchored her comeback in the familiar, emotionally resonant pieces from her personal collection, signaling resilience and unwavering continuity. This consistency has forged an unbreakable visual brand for the Wales family. They are no longer simply waiting in the wings. They are projecting a self-sustaining aura of steadfastness and absolute reliability that the future of the crown desperately requires. Her carefully curated jewellery box has proven to be far more effective in mobilizing public affection and projecting stability than the deepest, most inaccessible corners of the royal vaults. She has effectively neutralized the disadvantage of restricted access, turning her distinct, highly personal aesthetic into the definitive image of the modern monarchy. Ultimately, within the rarefied air of the palace, jewellery is never merely an arrangement of precious metals and extracted stones. It is an elevated language of diplomacy, a medium for unspoken rebuttal, and a precise instrument used to measure both the endurance and the sheer fortitude of the wearer. When access is restricted and boundaries are redrawn, true authority does not diminish. It adapts, refines, and finds a new vessel through which to shine. Over the course of more than a decade, evolving from a delicate cluster of diamond earrings worn at a christening to a defiant, history-making crown of silver leaves, Catherine has illuminated a profound truth about royal survival. Sovereign prestige does not originate from the number of velvet-lined boxes one is permitted to open, nor is it granted by the golden keys one is allowed to hold. True status is forged entirely in the ability to generate a brilliant, unyielding light of your own. An aura of dignity so powerful, so meticulously crafted, that no lock, no edict, and no shift in power could ever possibly extinguish it. This very light was on full display during the April 2026 centenary reception for the late Queen Elizabeth II, bringing this silent, strategic journey full circle. When Catherine stepped into the Buckingham Palace staterooms, the heritage pearls resting against her collarbone were no longer viewed as merely a respectful homage. They were universally recognized as a profound declaration. The global media's immediate consensus that she was broadcasting the ultimate signal of a future queen was not a sudden revelation born overnight. It was the culmination of years of quiet, calculated resilience. She had navigated the labyrinth of palace politics, gracefully accepted the newly imposed boundaries without a whisper of public dissent, and emerged not as a diminished figure, but as an undeniable, self-sustaining force. While Queen Consort Camilla has magnificently upheld the grandeur of the current throne, rightfully commanding the most awe-inspiring historical diamonds to project the strength and legitimacy of the new era, the Princess of Wales has successfully carved out a parallel, equally formidable domain of influence. She has proven that true royal lineage is not solely determined by who holds the physical keys to the heavy, reinforced doors of the vault, but by who possesses the profound understanding of what those gemstones represent to the people. By anchoring her visual identity in private heirlooms, emotional resonance, and architectural bespoke pieces, Catherine has entirely rewritten the modern royal playbook. The story of her jewellery is ultimately not a tale of high fashion or material accumulation. It is a masterclass in soft power, public relations, and diplomatic survival. It reminds us that in halls where every gesture is intensely scrutinized and every spoken word is heavily weighed, a poised, unbreakable silence is often the most potent response. A single, deliberately chosen gemstone, worn with unwavering confidence, can reverberate far louder than any official royal decree. The locks at Windsor may have been changed to protect the treasures of the past, but Catherine has unequivocally secured the only keys that truly matter, the ones that open the doors to the monarchy's enduring future. Thank you for joining us as we decode these hidden, glittering languages of the palace. Until next time, keep your eyes on the subtle details, for the most powerful and consequential stories in the world are often told without a single spoken word.